Thriving in today's fast-paced world of change and disruption requires innovation. Inside Outside Innovation is the podcast that explores the ins and outs of innovation with raw stories, real insights, and practical advice from the best and brightest in the world of startups and innovation. Each week, we'll bring you the latest ideas in lean startup, design thinking, corporate venture capital, and more. Now, let's get started.
All right, we're back again with another great episode of Inside Outside Innovation. Brian, good to have you back on the show.
It's nice to be here. We're great to have a spectacular guest, an international guest this time to talk to.
Absolutely. And how we found this particular guest was quite interesting. A few weeks ago, maybe even, I think it was just towards the end of April, a colleague of ours said, you guys have to read this article. And what it was an article written by a gentleman named Daniele Dondi, who's the co-founder of the ING Innovation Studio. So big ING financial group, and their specific efforts that they're doing to have an accelerator with an ING. And what was most fascinating is we see a lot of articles that are written out there about how to do corporate innovation. But Daniele's was really special because he actually called out some of those kind of elephant in the room types of things that I think happen at corporate accelerators.
If you want to Google it, the title was 4 Controversial Learnings After Setting Up a Corporate Accelerator. So with that, I think we're going to get into an interview with Dondi.
Yeah. We've just reached out to him and said, hey, we want to know a little bit more behind this. And so let's get into an interview with him. Daniele, welcome to the Inside Outside Innovation Podcast.
Hi, guys, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Excellent. Now, we are keeping you up a little bit late there. Did you say you're in Spain now?
I'm in Spain. It's 8 o'clock, actually. It's just after siesta time here, so it's absolutely not late.
Oh, it's not late at all. You're just thinking about maybe going out and having dinner right now?
Yeah, I have to change completely my habit. You don't have dinner here before 10 o'clock in the evening.
Well, I'm glad that we can be your
aperitivo,
right?
Let's say, yes.
That's excellent. Well, Daniele, again, thank you so much for joining us. Really, maybe to set the stage, could you tell us a little bit about the ING Innovation Studio and how it got started?
Yeah, of course. So the ING Innovation Studio, it's actually a corporate accelerator. And when you think about a corporate accelerator, you usually think about accelerating startups or internal teams, meaning internal projects. The Innovation Studio, it's a mix, meaning that for 6 months, we accelerate 3 internal teams, so 3 internal ideas of ING run by ING employees, and 3 external startups. We put them together in the same environment for 6 months. We accelerate them, and we hope that at the end of the 6 months, the 3 internal ING project will be successful new service and solution. And out of the 3 startups, we can have hopefully 3 proof of concept with different business units of ING around the world.
That's fascinating. Did you study someone else to come up with that kind of combined internal external model, or how did you arrive on that?
I had a trip in Philadelphia, and I heard of the concept of the Innovation Studio 2 years ago. And what they did, they were mixing external accelerator with 1 internal team. So imagine an accelerator with 9 startups and 1 internal teams. Mm-hmm. And we thought about, that's an interesting concept, but how can we make sure that we can teach more of lean startup methodologies to our own employees? And then we came out with this 50-50 models, which is quite interesting to be honest. Many learnings, many things that we should change, but so far so good. I have to say, we accelerated 4 startups, and we have 4 pilots, so it's 100%, which is an amazing rate. And of course, not all of these pilots would be successful, but at least we found 4 business units that want to, try out with solution given from external startups. And out of the 4 internal projects, I think that 3 are still alive. So it's a model that looks like it's working, but it's way too early to actually judge.
Sure.
Exactly. So one of the things that I noticed in the article you talked about was the time frame that you use for the accelerator. A lot of the accelerators out there, whether it's Techstars or others, are kind of 90-day short sprints. It sounded like, based on the article, that you had a slightly longer time frame, and one of your findings about the time frame was a little bit controversial. Can you talk a little bit about why and how you came up with the time frame of acceleration for the internal and external teams?
Yeah, so talking to many accelerator, they told us, usually the accelerator, it's really a moment where teams work day of night, and usually it's 90 days. We talked to Start Bootcamp, I thought, and they say, it's 90 days, but for startups that have a B2B approach, 90 days it's a little bit too short. So we give them one extra month. And then we thought, okay, but we are a bank, we have an internal procedure, we have we call it the Fab 4, which is risk, compliance, branding, and operations. So let's have a conservative approach. Let's double it. Let's say in 6 months we should actually be able to create something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw something very, very funny, and I saw that in the last 3 weeks of the cycle, pretty much all the teams made more progress than in the previous 3 months. And then I thought, wow, that's that's really a speed boost, which you think it's funny, but it's actually a very, very, very old approach, meaning that when you see the end, then you get the sense of urgencies that you don't see at the start.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was one eye-opener. You say, if you make a cycle longer, does not mean that the team will go faster, and does not mean that they will achieve more result.
Interesting. So Daniele, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently, or what's going to be your advice for how they run the next cycle?
I think that the clear key element here is that the teams needs to feel the sense of urgency. So even if we might decide not to shorten the time frame, we will for sure put some stage gate evaluation moment in between that are seen as an intermediate demo day. And we hope that with that model that team will go faster and have the sense of urgency through all the cycle. Having said that, most probably instead of 6 months will be a little bit shorter.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that you learned, the internal versus external teams? Were there different styles or different ways that they interacted, or different learnings based on the fact that they were either internal or external teams?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you always say that the most important element in the project is the quality of the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is not new to us as well. We've seen tremendous entrepreneurial spirit from the entrepreneurs, so from the startup, while the internal teams, even if we selected the most entrepreneurial employees of ING, they still were a little bit more risk adverse than the other, meaning a little bit more skeptical in experimenting with real customer, even without a clear product or even without a clear value proposition.
I think one of the things corporations routinely ask us is, who should we put on those internal project teams like that, whether they're going through an accelerator or working through their own innovation lab or hub. Did you see, were there certain positions or types of people within ING that seemed to work better than others?
Talking about controversials, 50% of the internal employees that came to join the accelerator, they came from the risk department. But there is, I think that there is a reason there. That you see, let's be honest, everybody wants to work on something exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the opportunity to join an accelerator for 6 months, gives this hope of being the next CEO of Facebook. So we have seen that many people that were doing job a little bit more conservative, they wanted to try something different.
Mm-hmm.
On a more, conservative level, I would say that it's also important to select people that are not too worried about following the classical career step. Mm. Because when you join an accelerator of 6 months, you step in a period of high uncertainty. You don't know what's going to happen afterwards. So you need to make sure that you select people that will not spend the last 2 or 3 months protecting their job, rather people that really wants to, learn new things and growth, and are not worried about what their next position will be. And it's not that easy to find these people before actually you start the cycle.
You specifically highlighted that, I think, in the article too, that when those employees finished the cycle, that some of them were less than excited to go back to their original positions because they feared, and this is your words, the loss of the freedom and the empowerment that they experienced in the accelerator.
Yeah.
Did all of those people, were they integrated back into the company, or what could be done, I guess, to make that a little bit smoother transition?
Yeah, I think that we need to be realistic that not all people joining an accelerator will continue working on their project. Mm-hmm. But I think the rules of the game needs to be clear before. And that's, I think, a little bit the mistakes that we did. We said at the beginning, after the 6 months, it's if your project will be successful, then you can continue. Otherwise, don't worry. You have still your old job that is waiting for you. Mm. So we were trying to minimize the downside, if you want. What we have seen is that people really want to maximize the upside. So many of them were asking that, okay, but can I really work? Can I really be the responsible or the lead of the project? Or you will assign someone else and I will support? And we were not really ready to answer all these questions. So I think that the main element is make sure that you have an exit strategy for the person that joined the team before the start of the cycle, so they can really understand what they need to do and what will happen after the 6 months or the 5 months.
Well, that's it for another episode of Inside Outside Innovation. Special thanks to our guests for being on the show this week. Also, we'd love to hear from you, so please do reach out and talk to us on Twitter at the IO Podcast. Visit us online at insideoutside.io. And if you have 30 seconds, go over to iTunes, leave a review, and you can subscribe there as well. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, go out and innovate.